That's actually why AJ wears earphones, because he has the same kind of ear. I don't know if you knew.
But it's just one of them.
Yeah, like me.
Yeah.
All right, we are live. Put the needle on the record. Put the needle on the record. Anybody know what that song is from right now? Anybody out there says it? I will send you a Degen hat tomorrow if you do it within 30 seckons.
That's a lie, because Degen gave him a hat to give to me, and he gave it to someone.
It's got to be AJ's hat.
Yeah.
It's got to be AJ's hat. Yeah, absolutely. But you'll get it if you say, put the needle on the record, put the needle on the record, when the drum beat goes like this. Yeah, that's what you guys don't know this, but if somebody tells me who did that song. But we are live. We are the Triple Clowns, and we are with the one, the only Vic Stauffer, who's going to go over our Saratoga late pick 5 for Saturday. And this is exciting. Always a pleasure to have Vic on the show when we go live. So remember, everybody, ask him questions, do whatever. I mean, you have your chance here with Vic Stauffer. You don't have much of a chance of that usually, because Vic is, he's not somebody who's, I don't want to say you're not approachable, Vic, because I think you're one of the greatest guys in the industry. But Vic doesn't do this often. So let's ask him some questions here.
I consider that a public service.
Yeah.
The fact that I don't do it very often.
Yeah, he's looking out for you. That's what he's doing.
Exactly right.
Okay. Drop my water. All right. So let's get into it. AJ, what's going on? AJ Ryder over there, the truck stop burrito. On the side of me, obviously, is Mrs. Big News, Sarah Marie, and it's me, G. Randall Johnson, and we have Vic Stauffer here. So good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're at. And we're going to go over to late pick 5. And I first and foremost have to say that if you don't know Vic Stauffer, I'm not going to say who he is, because you should know him. And if you don't, then just leave now. But he's a great handicapper too. And you won the Bing Crosby recently that day. Correct, Vic?
Yeah, it was called the, what was it called? It was called the Pacific Classic Challenge at Del Mar.
Oh, it's Pacific Classic. Oh, a different day. Okay. I thought it was the Bing Crosby day. I don't know why.
It was, it's a live money tournament. The buy-in was $3,500 live bankroll, and it came together. It almost could have been an epic situation. My whole strategy when I started with the $3,500 bankroll was to get a lot of money going into the last race, because I loved a horse in the last race. And I told a friend of mine, Jerry Brown from Thoroughgraph, I said, if Astronaut wins the last race, I'll win the tournament. So with 5 races to go in the tournament, my bankroll had gone from 3,500 to 11,700. And I proceeded in the next 4 races to donk away 10,700 of the 11,700. So I went into the last race with a bankroll of only $1,000. But it still worked out, because the cash in that race, I bet the 1,000 and got back 55K. So that was cool. But it really could have been incredibly epic, because if I'd have had, let's say, 4,000 going into that race, I still would have gone all in, still made the bet. It would have been the same structure to the bet, and instead of cashing for 55, I'd have cashed for 220. So I kind of donked it away, but a win is a win, and I was really happy to have it.
Okay, Vic, congratulations, number one. But also, like, Astronaut, you were the only one I've ever heard, like, you were going all in with a horse that would, he was like morning line, like what, 15?
He was 20 to 1 on the morning
20? Okay. Yeah, all in.
He personified everything that I think is good about making a bet on a horse at a big price. He checked every box, and I actually gave that. I do a thing called the TGPS seminar, which is the Thoroughgraph Player Services Seminar. I do a couple of them a month, and I'll send you guys a link to that and let you know what you think about it. And I went on there on that seminar and said, Astronaut's my best bet of the day, and I think he's a fantastic bet, and it turned out one of those times where it came together and it worked out.
Best bet of the day, 20 to 1. I got to give you that, because that's not normal, Vic. And that's awesome. And I really thought, when I looked at the race, because this is how much I know, I thought Astronaut had a better chance of winning than AJ actually becoming an astronaut. So let's just put that out there right away. But Vic, That's incredible. Congratulations. And this is why we have Vic on here, because I actually think you're an underrated handicapper because they don't realize you're such a great handicapper. And what short four shows up? Okay, we'll get into those questions in a second. But Vic, before that, we should have had you on that day because none of us picked that. AJ thinks he's the GOAT right now. He actually said this at Saratoga. He thinks he's the GOAT, by the way. So we need you to take him down a couple notches, Vic.
Okay.
He's just like, okay, that's easy. All right. So
that's the reason why I reacted that way, because if AJ
So
is the
silly.
GOAT, then I'm a whole herd of goats.
well, you know, he's a Cubs fan, so he actually is the GOAT. He's the curse of the Triple Clowns. And
Billy Goat curse.
there you go. So you know who it is. All right. So let's get into it. Sarah, you ready to go? What are you doing over there?
Sarah, you haven't said one word.
I know. Sorry.
You seem like a deer in the headlights. You're almost funereal this morning. What's going on?
I know. I was trying to tweet out about our show,
Oh, okay. Okay.
and there was a little glitch, so I was like trying to figure it out. But
I'm just glad that you're okay.
I'm good.
Cool.
I'm good.
All right.
I was
'Cause you're
fighting.
basically the only reason I come on this show.
I know.
Most people, that's the case. I mean,
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
understand that. That's why she's here. All right. We have a couple of comments that probably should go up there. Kind of funny. But all right, so let's get into it, Vic. Do you want to bat cleanup here when we do our picks, or do you want to go first so I can steal your picks?
What's the format? Yeah, well, I'll figure out the format when you go. So sure, yeah, I'm ready.
All right.
All right, let's start. The late pick 5 starts with race 8, which is the Grade 3 Saranac Stakes. We got a mile 16th on the inner turf, $200,000 at stake, and this is for 3-year-olds. AJ, you gonna hit us off?
Yeah, I'm just super chalk here. I can't talk myself into anybody outside of the 7-5 and the 8-5 morning line players place here. The public sector, the number one, especially getting the win here at Saratoga last time out. Clearly, I mean, a mile and 16th isn't going to be a problem. Beat like Annex has been with all sorts of great horses between like Fire at Will a bunch of times, like class of the race by far. The only thing that scares me, and I'm going to include it on the ticket, is just because the 4, who like a 3-year-old has won one race as a 3-year-old, but was crushing at the end of last year as a 2-year-old, comes back now after the long layoff, could come back stronger. It's Pletcher and Saez, who are super hot right now. So it's 8-5. It's not going to get you a lot, but if this horse wasn't in the race, public sector would be my single. So I'm starting super chalk with 1-4.
So 1-4 for you, AJ. I can't even go on from that. I'll just jump right in because I am 1-4 as well. I think there's no other play here. I'd like to hear if anybody else has a play. I'm 1-4 all day long. And I have the fact of the one is, he's a grade 2 horse. He's a horse for the course, right? And he can run the distance. So we have to do that. And the 4 is he could get loose, this 4, and just wire this field. So I got to go with a 2-horse race. And that's 1-4.
Wow. I did 1-2.
Huh.
I did not take the 4 here. I think Like the King does have a pretty decent shot for the price, 6-1. I like that Johnny V's in the irons here. He is running off Lasix, which will be interesting to see how this horse is run. He's done it before. They did put him on Lasix last time out, but that is kind of something to look at here. But I think this, Like the King, now that he's, he had raced in such strong company when he was in the Derby, of course, and then came back and ran the stakes race at Churchill. He did not the greatest, but he had a little bit of, he just seemed to weaken there. But he came back strong the last race and lost to Yes This Time at Delaware Park. Yes This Time, as we know, is a pretty strong horse. But I think 6-1, I'm going to play him because I'm going to try to play against the 4 here.
All right. So, Vic, tell us how stupid we are.
Only mildly.
That's a compliment for us.
Thanks.
clearly the conundrum in the race is Never Surprised, because you just don't really know what you're going to get. Are you going to get a horse that blew up at 2-5 and we haven't seen since January? Or are you going to get the horse that looked like he could be going towards a race like the Breeders' Cup Turf Juvenile? So his numbers as a 2-year-old were fabulous. The good and the bad part of Never Surprised are, the good parts are he gets 6 pounds from Public Sector, which is a very, very big deal in a graded stake on turf. The bad part is that he's 8-5. The good part is that he's extremely talented. And another good part is it looks like he may end up being lone controlling speed. If you bet on a horse like Never Surprised over and over again, you'll end up going broke. But that being said, you probably don't want to leave him off the ticket. The horse that I like the best by far is Founder. I think he's as good or better than Public Sector and I know that they both ran against each other this year, and Public Sector beat him on the square. But if you go back and look at that race, Founder got away to a terrible start. He got hung wide on the turn, and he never really got going on a racetrack that it looked like you couldn't make up a heck of a lot of ground on. And the race that he just ran, one of the things that I love is hidden form. As you know, I look at numbers. The race that he just ran in winning at Monmouth was actually 1 full point, Thorograph point faster than Public Sector. Public Sector is much more reliable. He's much more kind of not all over the page. But Founder just ran much faster than him, and he gets 2 pounds from him. They're both Chad Brown horses. And he's 4-1. So I don't see myself using the first, second, and third choice on the morning line. So I'm probably going to pitch Never Surprised and hold my breath and go with the 2 Chad Brown horses, Public Sector and Founder. And if I made a win bet in the race, it would 100% be on Founder.
All right, so 145 for you, Vic. That's a very good point you made. 2 Chad Brown horses. Also, Founder. Yeah, I mean that's a good angle. I like that the numbers in the last race, and Never Surprised. I did have a note on that. Was, does this horse need a race? It has been a while, and we didn't bring that up, and Vic did.
The answer is probably not, because it's Todd Fletcher and it's a graded stake at Saratoga. You're not going to give him one in a race like this, but you got to bring him back somewhere. He's not, he's already won a stake, so he has to run in a 2 other than. Those usually don't fill for straight 3-year-olds, so you got to bring him back in a stake. But he's a nice horse.
Yeah,
he's a nice horse.
All right, so 145 for Vic. Let's move on.
1-4. Or 1-5.
Oh, you didn't say?
No 4. 1-5.
1-5. Oh, sorry about that, Vic.
All right, 1-5. We all went too deep here. Let's move to race 9, which we have a allowance race on the turf, a mile 16th, $90,000. This is for filly and mares, 3-year-olds and up. AJ, who do you got?
Yeah, these New York bred allowance races up here are always kind of like, they seem to be all over the place. Kara's Dreamer, who has only ever won one race, had sniffed it a couple of times in these. I think the mile and 16th is going to be perfect for her. Didn't look great last time out, but was really coming along. I don't want to, because she's burned me actually more than a few times, but I do believe maybe it's finally time, so I'm going to have her on the ticket for sure. The other one's the 7 Freedom Machine, who, again, in these New York bred races, looks like she was starting to figure it out. They switch over to Saez. They go to a mile. I like going back to a mile and 16th, and I like having Lascano back on because he was with her for most of this year. So, and they were running fairly well. So I like that move, putting him back on. 8-1 seems like a good price. And then the other one's the 8 Infringement, who switches over to the dirt. And it didn't exactly run the doors off, or switches over from the dirt, and didn't exactly run the doors off at 7, but In these races, they're always, again, they're all over the place. And at 15-1, I get a horse who's coming back to the turf for the second time. Get Julian Laperoux on. I just like that maybe when you look at the numbers, is ran very pedestrian on the dirt, switches over to the turf, runs a number that's way outside of what she's ever ran before. I like the second time going here, so I'll give the 8 infringement a shot too.
Horse, are going too deep?
Three deep.
Three deep. What are they?
1A,
1,
7, and
7.
8.
All right. 187. So 178. All right. You kind of jumped on my 7 there, AJ. I'm going with the 7 as well. I think this horse can run the distance and does obviously know the track. And if you look at his last couple races with Freedom Machine, they were bad races. I mean, it wasn't perfect trips, let's say, for him.
Probably should have beat Kara's Dreamer the last time, or the last.
Yeah, they weren't perfect trips for. So at 8-1, I got to take a flyer there. The other one is, and it's going to be at the same weird angle where Saez goes aboard the 3 here, looking to fly. I think this is a horse that's a little bit of a new horse since the new trainer. If you watch the races, I think this horse is improving, and I think it's on a nice trend for that. So I got to go with that with Saez because it's 8-1, and I'm also just going to go with the 1 just because Kara's Dreamer might be the best horse in the race. And so I'm going to go 1, 3, 7 there.
Okay. I'm on the 1 as well. I'm not going to say much more about Kara's Dreamer. I like the 3. I'm with Randy here with Saez in the irons. I think this horse is interesting to look at. He's jumping up in class, quite a bit from his last one, but he won last time out at Saratoga, and that is something Randy always brings up, horse for the course. If they seem like they take to Saratoga, I'm going to definitely look twice at it, but for 8-1, I think that was a pretty good price. I'm also playing the 10 here, English Breeze at 5-2 with Manny. My only concern here is he hasn't raced since the beginning of June. So that layoff, we'll see how he does. But I feel like this horse for this distance, it'd be kind of interesting to see how he runs, especially in this kind of field, and to see how he competes against the 1 here. But I thought I'd throw him in just as a little bit of a challenge. So I did 1, 3, 10.
So going straight chalk. Kind of. No, the 2 would have been. All right. So Vic, what do you think?
Well, the first thing that you have to know about this race and the 10th is they will dictate whether or not this pick 5 pays well. It's obvious that the first leg is going to be somewhat chalky, regardless of who you like. And I think we will find out that the last 2 legs, there's not really a lot of meat on the bone in either one of those races. So if you are constructing your ticket, you want to try to use as many live horses at a price that you like in this race that your budget will allow. And I think that that's why this is a very, very good race for a pick 5. I will tell you that if English Breeze wins, my pick 5 will be dead. I do not like her even a tiny bit. And for a number of reasons. One, she was obviously cut out to be a very nice filly. Broker Maiden in first asking at Saratoga way back in 19. They immediately put her in 3 stakes races. She only got beaten a length and a half in a grade 2, and then she got a flat tire. She was just gone for a year and a half. They brought her back, and she ran 4 pretty good races. The numbers were actually better than the results. And then I can only think that in June at Belmont, they were thinking, all right, let's go. We're going to go up to the swamp. We're going to win races up at Saratoga. She's a New York bred. This is everything that we do. And she staggers into the closing weekend the first time she can get to the races at Saratoga. That, to me, is a massive red flag. So she has a horrible post. She's going to have to give ground on both turns. And sometimes the key to a pick 5 can be not who you like, but who you want to fade. And if English Breeze wins, my pick 5 ticket is dead. I like Looking to Fly, just like you guys. I think that she, too, was actually cut out to be a pretty nice filly. And clearly she's had physical problems. Only got to the races twice as a 2-year-old, 3 times as a 3-year-old. But since and I think Sarah made a good point, since Joe Sharp has taken over, she's done a couple of things that really you don't figure to be able to do. And that is, she came back off a layoff and ran a really nice sprint. And then they immediately turned her around and ran her a route of ground on the turf. Now, people will say, well, that was a maiden 40. You know something? Maiden 40 is one level before the first allowance condition with New York breds. So it's not that big of a deal to see these horses going back and forth to that level. And her race visually was terrific. They crawled in front of her, and yet she still kicked in and ran away. And Saez took hold of her in the last 16th, like, all right, let's see if we can get her into an allowance race before this meet is over and get some big money and running for 90K. She to me is the right win bet. For all of the reasons that you guys said, I agree about Freedom Machine. I would use her. The one horse that hasn't been mentioned is Just Okay Is Not Okay. I think she's very, very interesting in this race. There are a couple of things that just don't work in this world. One of them is that pros putt for par, and the other one is grass horses that are ranked. And that's what she was last time. She broke a half stride slow, and Saez tried to get her up into the race. And if you go back and look at the replay, you're going to see that she was in a tough spot between horses. And he tried to take hold of her to get her to stay there between horses. And she threw her head up, sucked herself out of the spot, and damn near dropped herself. And I would expect that Todd Pletcher saw that and said, all right, well, that's enough of that crap. What we're going to do is we're going to teach her that she has to sit and finish. And I think that's why we haven't seen her since the 24th of July. If she can sit and finish, the race that she ran at Belmont when she broke her maiden is plenty good enough to beat these horses, and she actually had trouble in that race as well. I also, AJ, think that you're on to something with infringement. That race is very buried, and she actually ran a number that if she can improve on it, and there's a big question mark with her asking 2 turns on what it's probably going to be a track that's something less than firm. But she's a wonderful include. But the 3 that I think I can use to get past the race are 3, 6, and 7. I don't like Kara's Dreamer. She's had too many chances and comes from a 2% barn. A barn that's 3%, 2 for 64 on the year at 3-1. She's the kind of horse you can completely leave off. So I'm somewhere around 3, 6, 7.
All right. So Vic, first off, you're fading the 2 favorites. So this is a big race for you.
It's the most important race. Yep.
I went back and forth with that too. Like I just threw in the 1. I feel like because obviously it's not going to be a coupled entry, but it's just hard not to go against it. But also, if anybody noticed, Vic always the wordsmith. Like Vic should write a book.
Yeah.
Like putting for par as like a pro golfer putting for par. Like we all. I don't know, Vic. You should write a book. It's crazy. Like I try to be a wordsmith, but
Randy, did you hear that I'm an announcer?
Yeah.
But most announcers don't have like analogies like
That's
that.
true.
I'm sorry, you're better than that.
Well, the
You
best
are.
was in the comments. Tom said Vic should read books on tape, and then Jay's like, maybe we should get him to call racist. That was a great.
I
comment.
didn't even read that. I really didn't
Yeah.
read it. But Vic, you give yourself some more credit than that because most people just announce the race. You actually like come
You
up
tell a
with
story of the race.
Yeah. Oh wait, you're a track announcer?
We didn't
Oh.
know that.
I thought he was just a guy
A handicapper.
handicapping.
Yeah.
No, but absolutely wordsmith. I respect it. Like, putt for par. That was good.
That was
I like
good.
that.
All right, let's go to race 10. We have a 6.5 furlong allowance race, $103,000 at stake. This is for 3-year-old and up. AJ, who do you got?
The best price that I like here is actually the one Tuggle, who just came off of, and I'm sure Vic's seen Tuggle more than a few times.
Let me tell you about Tuggle.
Uh-oh.
The day that he got run down by Lycan on the 23rd of February, he couldn't lose at the 16th hole. And if he hangs on, I win $50,000 in the pick 5. And Lycan, who is now worth about 12.5, ran him down. just when I see Tug-O-Lite, it's just puke inducing.
There goes my pick because I had the one as well. Thanks.
Well, I'm using it. No, I'm using it.
I was going to say,
I'm using it.
I think that was quite some time ago, Vic. So I think we can get over it because, especially
You
the
can
last.
get over it. I can.
Yeah.
Easy for you to say. Easy for you to say.
We can get over it. Sort of, it's like Zulu Alpha for me. So no, but I think especially the last time running one length off of Mr. Phil, this horse has now gone second 3 times on the turf in its last 3 races. It's training well up at Saratoga right now. This horse has been close so many times. It just feels like 8-1. That's something I got to do, especially if I get a IRAD. It just seems like that's got to be a winning combination. So 8-1 seems like a really good price. It's never actually ever finished worse than third on the dirt in its 5 dirt races. So that all elusive win that it hasn't gotten since that first race. I like Tuggo a lot here. I wish you wouldn't have said that story because now I'm worried about it. But
I'm using him, AJ.
Yeah.
I'm using him. It just was gross because if you go back and look at the race, you can't lose. It's 16 pole, and I was styling on the call a little bit because I was going to make a call where it didn't sound like I was doing anything out of the ordinary that I won 50K on, and it was so gross that he got run down.
I don't know how you can do that, by the way, Vic. I would be losing my mind. I'd be like, I'd lose my job.
I once had a stretch run at Hollywood Park between 2 horses I was live in the pick 6 to, and they were bobbing noses 12 lengths in front of the rest of the field. One was named Flip the Petty, and the other one was named, he's trained. I can't think of his name, but they were literally one of those head bob where one would be in front and the other. I was alive to only 2 horses in the race in the pick 6. One of them was paying $6,000, and the other one was paying $126,000. And I just called it to the wire.
You're a pro, Vic. You're a pro. Yeah. That's all I can say. Because that would carry some emotions there.
Twin fin. Flip the penny and twin fin.
And when you listen to the call now, you actually hear a vague "son of a bitch."
No, the right one won. The right one won. Twin fin won, and the pick 6 paid $126.
Oh, so you won with it? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, all right, then that's cool. Cool. Good for you. Once again, Nick just hammers it.
I have no idea where any of that money is.
I do. I mean, I know. Yeah, never mind. I won't go into that. But all right. So AJ, what do you have here? What is it exactly?
So I got the 1. I'm gonna throw in the 9-2 credit trade at 5-1. Going against Jackie's Warrior and Drain the Clock. I know it lost by like 8 lengths, but again, I don't think it's going to see 2 sprinters of that quality in the same race. Again, I mean that's better than any competition that we have here right now. So yeah, I like crowded trade at 9 or at 5-1, the 9, and then I'm gonna take a big old bomb with the 5. Since leaving Maker's Barn, came back. I know it was a claimer and I was at 6, but the number was good. Yodel Iehu is not a bad horse. Should have won that race probably if you're just trying to go down to a claiming level and get its confidence back. But now comes back to 103K allowance. And this is a horse who ran in allowance level races at Aqueduct for a long time and was fairly competitive. I like it coming back here in this spot as a 4-year-old. Dylan Davis has burned me up here a couple times, so 30-1 just seems like a spot where, if I'm gonna, like Vic said, that last race and this one is where you're gonna try to get your price. So I'm just gonna go all in. I'm not playing that 3. I do not like the 3. I can't stand a maiden winner, no matter how good it looks most of the time. Coming back into an allowance level of this category, I'll fade that every time. So, I'll go 1, 9, and 5.
All right, 195. All right, AJ, good call on that 5 there. I'm not playing the 5, but I mean that's not a bad angle here where you're looking at it second off a claim, right? And it's Yodelehi that he got beat by. And that's how you have to say it. Vic, in case you're announcing a race, you need to do it like that.
There you go.
But not a bad call there. But AJ, I'm jumping on your one here. Well, and obviously Vic's one as well. Really quick, I think this horse could sit off the lead here. Second off a big layoff. You know how I love that. So I am going to go with the one there. I also took the 9 as well, AJ, here with Crowded Trade, Castellano Brown. Enough said there. And I actually wrote down, and AJ will be proud, I wrote AJ Angle. I know he's going to take him because of who you've beaten. And you love that angle. I knew it, and now you're weirdly slighting me towards it, which I don't know if I like or not. But I'm going to go with the 9 as well. But I'm going to go with the 10 to Hometown. I like the cutback thing here. And if there's a duel up front, I think this horse could be sitting close enough. So I want to take not a flyer at a 4-1 shot, but I'm going to throw in the 4-1 shot. So I'm going to go 1, 9, 10.
Okay, I am not playing the 1. Only 1, so it's probably going to bite me. But I am playing the 3. I don't know. This horse could burn me. This is something else. I don't know. I was going to try him out here, but I'm with Randy on the 10 here. I think that this horse has some really decent speed numbers to really compete. And I'm also with Crowded Trade. Like you guys have been saying, look who he's been racing against. This is not that kind of field. So this could be wide open for him. That was the main reason why I put Crowded Trade in there. I feel like this could be, if he runs well, it could be a really easy win for him. But I'm playing the 3, 9, 10.
3, 9, 10. All right, I'm going to ask Vic before he gets into his picks real quick because I want to know this. Is that a very amateur move of who have you beaten? Because I feel like it is, and I'm doing it.
I completely agree. I just think because you get trounced by good horses doesn't make you a good horse. That was a 6-horse field. Somebody had to be third. He was completely non-competitive. He was probably only third because he was so bad that he was last at the top of the stretch. And the other horses that were trying to beat these 2 bears were tired of chasing them. If you look at this horse's sheet, it is curving exactly the wrong way. He ran a very big race in the Gotham and then has never been able to get back to it. And then last time out, I think they said, okay, well, he's not a classic horse. He's not a Derby horse, not a Preakness horse. Maybe he's a sprinter. Well, no, he's not in a sprinter. And now they're saying, well, okay, he's an allowance horse. This horse is if he wins, I get nothing. I hate that horse today.
Yeah, no, and no, because for real, it's kind of like people do that in football and every sport. It's like, well, they beat this team, so that team beat this team, so they're going to beat this team. It doesn't work that way, like ever. It doesn't, and we get sucked into it. AJ gets sucked into it a lot. I'm following the crowd here.
I was say, didn't you just pick that same horse?
I just said I'm following the crowd here. Okay, I admitted it, but I do think it's like an amateur move a lot of times. That's why I wanted to bring that up. I'm not making fun of you, AJ, because I do the same thing, and I think a lot of people out there do.
Mm-hmm.
But thank you for clearing that up. Now tell us who you picked, and if you picked that horse now, it's going to be weird.
Well, again, this is the second key to the pick 5. You need to try to get past this race and with a price. And again, you want to use as many horses as you can. Leaving Ducali off is a big mistake. He might be a really serious horse. We're talking about a horse that ran second at Churchill in his first start. He was favored to win. They brought him to Saratoga and he ran off the screen at 4-5 and ran a massive number. This may be a stop at the first allowance condition on Degraded Stakes Company. He ran a very fast number. Brad Cox horses don't tend to bounce, and I can see trying to pick against him and use other horses. I get that, but leaving him off, I think, is folly. I wouldn't do that. In no particular order, I'll give you horses that I think have to be used. And then I'll give you an order of how I would play it. But you definitely need to use Olympiad. This is a horse that he looks to me a lot like Ducali in that he broke his maiden at Saratoga. I understand that it was a year ago. I get that. But he comes back for Mott. Mott is very good off a layoff. He was obviously cut out to be a serious horse. They paid $700K for him. He ran a very fast number when he broke his maiden as a 2-year-old. They bring him back. Alvarado has a very, very good record for Mott, and he's first Lasix and seems to be training well. This is a horse that could be literally any kind of a horse, and he's 8-1. He's impossible. If you leave a horse like this off, and then you go back and look at it afterwards, you say, how the hell could I leave that horse off? So he's on every ticket. I agree with Sarah about Hometown. If you ask me who I thought was just flat out who's most likely to win the race, it would be Hometown. His race, when he broke his maiden, was faster than Olympiad and faster than Ducali by a lot. He did it at Aqueduct, going this distance. And now he's basically just sort of rounded into form that would make you think he can win the first allowance condition. The horse that he finished second to, First Captain, ended up being favored in the Jim Dandy. He didn't run very well, but he was the favorite. He's 4-1. That's the exact price he ought to be, and he's got a good post. And then the other horse that I think is extremely interesting is Staying Out Late. This is a horse, when I saw him break his maiden in September as a 2-year-old, I thought he could be a Derby horse. I literally thought he was that good. And I think Steve Asmussen did too. They stretched him out in his next start. He ran a very good second, maybe got moved a little early that day. All things are fine to go towards important races. They took him to the fairgrounds and he laid an egg. And never really has been able to get back to it. His 2 races at Oaklawn were okay, nothing great, okay. He probably should have beaten Mr. Wireless the day that he ran second, beaten a nose. But there's no bigger fan of Asmussen and Santana. He's 12-1 on the morning line, 12-1. And this is another one. When you look back after he beats you in the pick 5, you say, how could I have left that horse off? Given if you really put together the chronology of his career, we know he's going to get a good trip. We know that he's tactical and that he can lay fairly close. He was in front when he broke his maiden. He won't be in front, and he's not going to get in any trouble because he's drawn in the 12th hole. They'll peel off, so he's not going to be in like the 6th path going into the far turn. He'll be in the 2 or 3 path. And Asmussen is an absolute master at winning with these kinds of horses. He will be ready to run his best race. So, and he's 12-1. So whatever the horses that I think you gotta have on the ticket are Tuggle. He would be the first one I would take off if I thought I had too many horses. You gotta have Ducali, you gotta have Olympiad and Hometown, and Staying Out Late. If you force me to say only 3 of those, I would say Ducali, Hometown, and Staying Out Late.
All right. No, that's impressive. And AJ, you know about Mr. Wireless that he beat. Who got beat by a nose. You know about that horse, right, AJ?
Don't start.
You know who that is?
Mr. Wireless?
Yeah.
Yeah. You really don't know what this is? For you, Vic, that maybe you don't know, AJ made a bet about Mr. Wireless. Kind of like
With
his
Mark
extravagant kid bet. And he had to wear clown makeup because Mr.
that's
Wireless beat your horse, AJ. And that's why you had to wear clown makeup. So
I love the question there. I see. If you like Olympiad, how come you don't like Hoopla? The answer is they strike me as completely different kinds of horses. Hoopla is a horse that they kind of guessed that he might be a turf router. They tried him in that. When you run a horse long on the grass the first time out, it means that you don't know what the hell you've got, but you have a horse that doesn't really have much speed. Then they immediately gave up on him, ran him for maiden 40. Yeah, he ran off the screen, but he goes from Billy Mott to Bruce Brown. No knock on Brown, but he's not as good a trainer as Mott. I don't see a horse. He ran a decent number, but I don't see a horse that won for maiden 40 beating all 11 of these monsters. I just don't see it. I think he's properly lined at 30 to 1.
Yeah, that is a weird angle too, with the going to turf that long right off the bat, because I mean that horse is out of Blame, I believe, and Blame's produces dirt horses mostly. It's a weird.
It's an angle that you've speculated that he can do any number of things and decided that he couldn't do any of them. So they said, okay, what the hell? We'll try him long on the turf.
Yeah.
And it didn't work. And they called up the owner and said, this horse is a rat. What do we do? And they said, run him for 40. You'll lose him. And he's not gonna end up making us look bad. He ran a great race for 40. He was even money, and all that's very well and good. But this is, he went 22 and 3, 45 and 3, and he was in front. If he goes 22 and 3, 45 and 3 in this race, he'll be in the middle of the pack, 6 lengths out of it. And is he going to outrun those horses from the quarter pole home? No. He's aligned correctly at 30 to 1.
All right. Well, there you go. There you go, Jay. Your question answered.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's move on.
Yes, let's go on to race 11, where we had the Grade 1 Flower Bowl. This is a win, and you're in for the filly and mare turf. We got 1 mile 3/8 on the turf, obviously, $600,000 at stake. Filly and mares, 4-year-olds and up. AJ.
Yeah, I'll get burned for this, and that's fine.
I know where he's going.
But I'm going to play against the horse who's 5 or 6 lifetime. I'm not going to play Warlike Goddess.
She's not going to be on any of your tickets?
Nope.
Farewell and adieu.
Yep.
My fair Spanish lady.
I said I would regret
Farewell and adieu, my
You might be my single. But go ahead, AJ.
Yeah, I'm going to play against her.
Received word.
There's just something that concerns me about a horse that's gone this long winning, and I'm like, it's going to lose here eventually.
My wife just came charging into my room and said, "Don't sing."
Well, we're live. We can't edit that out. Tell your wife.
I am going to play the horse that did get second to her last time out in that Glen Falls, my sister Nat, with Jose here. I mean, I think when I see all these numbers line up, I think they're close enough where I think someone can steal this. I'm not like, and again, I'm probably wrong and she'll win. It's fine. But it's also Saratoga. Who knows what the fuck's going to happen here half the time. And then I'm going to throw in the 1 as well with Santana. I like what this horse has been doing. I think it's been close, and I think it's just in a spot too, running in 3 grade 1s the last 3 times out. Been close every time. This horse is going to possibly break through one of these times and steal one of these. And then I'm going to take an absolute bomb. And that's the 7. Costana. Costana is interesting. Comes off a win at this distance at Saratoga in an allowance race. It was a good allowance race. Comes into this one. I don't know if we've seen enough of this horse to just write it off and say that it's not going to come in here now and possibly win this race. 2 of its last 3, I think, is a solid horse. I think if someone's going to beat Warlike Goddess, I think I've seen enough of the other 2 that I've mentioned to the point where I'd almost want to play this one to come through. So I'm going to go 1, 4, 7.
1, 4, 7. All right. Fading
the 4 to 5 morning.
Okay. All right. Well, all right, AJ. And somebody just brought up a big point that said they feel like you're going to be stuck in clown makeup again. So do we throw that out there to Vic right now?
AJ,
I would just why on earth? I didn't even want to do this. Why on earth would I make a bet about it?
Okay.
AJ, you've got some juicy long shots coming up to this race. I mean, juicy. You could go.
I'm going for the jackpot.
Yeah, and what if you miss?
You already have the jackpot. If you're right about some of your horses, you could go $20 winner to $40 winner to $30 winner. And if you do that, and then leave this filly off, you're going to be one of the great schmucks in the history of horse racing.
Here it is.
Do that.
Here it
Don't
is.
do that.
You're the greatest schmuck then.
You don't have to fall on your sword. All you need is the five numbers.
Let's everybody be real. When it comes time to actually place this bet tomorrow, I will chicken out, and I probably will throw that horse on the ticket.
Good.
Okay.
But
good,
for
because,
the sake of this show, I'm not going to play it.
he's absolutely right. If you went into the last leg without like a 1-5 shot,
Oh God.
and you got like a $40,000 pick five.
Well,
going,
there's 1-5 shots that you can pitch because you can base your whole ticket on not liking a favorite. Like I'm basing my ticket on not liking that what's her name, the English horse, English Breeze. But to just take a shot against a horse like this, if you're right going into that race, you don't want to do that. You don't want to fall on your sword. You don't want to be that right and then miss. I mean, she could win, and the pick five could still pay $6,000.
That's what I said. Let's be real. I'm going to log into ExpressBet tomorrow and place this bet, and I'm going to see that, and I'm gonna like, there's no fucking way. And I'm going to.
all right. So everybody
Right,
knows
which also means the way you've got it structured, which means it would only make the ticket 25% more. So to add her.
Yeah, you have to do it. Don't you like falling on your sword? I like that analogy. With that being said, the only other horse I would single the 3 here, Warlike Goddess. There's no doubt. I think this horse is the best horse in the race. The only one I would play besides that is just because I think could get loose and maybe win because the horse is loose. It's the 1, and that's La Signare or La Signar. I don't know how to say that. Vic, you're the track announcer. How do I say that?
I don't think I've ever called her. I think it's La Signare.
That's
La
what I think so.
Signare. All right.
Signare.
Signore.
But
Signore. La Signare, which means the sign in Italian.
there you go.
It doesn't really mean that, Vic. I make shit up all
Don't
the time.
ever believe anything that comes out of Randy's mouth.
But
Vic.
okay, I'm going 1-3 because I think the 1 could possibly steal it, and that would just be a play just because I wouldn't want to get burned on the fact of the 1 getting loose on a lead and no one catching the 1. So I'm just going to go that route. So I'm going to go 1-3.
1-3. All right. I of course am including the 3, but I'm also playing the 6 Great Island for a price at 4-1. He had a strong last race last time out at Monmouth and the grade 3 matchmaker. He is going to be off Lasix in this race. I think if there is some kind of, I don't know what could happen to Warlike Goddess, it could open it up for the 6, but I was just going to put a horse to play with the 3. I feel like that this is could be an easy win for the 3 here. So I just threw 6 in for a price.
All right. So you're going 3,
3-6. Yep.
All right. Vic, what do you think about this race? I feel like it's not going to be a long conversation here.
Well, what's the one thing that you can say about graded stakes races, grade 1 turf races in the late summer and fall, and Breeders' Cup turf races? What's the one thing that you can say that seems to always happen after those races?
After those?
The answer is that Europeans win them.
Yeah, we just saw that thing. Yep. All right.
It keeps happening. It's been happening for decades.
Mhm.
And yet it's like the guy that keeps hitting his head against the wall. It's now bloodied and swollen. And the guy says, well, why are you doing that? And he says, because it feels so good when I stop.
Another
To
one.
me, American Bridge is no different than that horse that won the Joseph O'Brien horse with Velasquez that won about a month ago and paid $48. It's no different than Japan, who should have won last week, except
100%.
Rosario completely undressed Brian Moore, made him look like a clown. And everybody is comparing Warlike Goddess to the horses that the North American horses that she's completely been dominating. I don't really think that they can beat her, but American Bridge, you're not going to send a horse to a win and you're in unless you're trying to get in, and you don't necessarily think you'll get in based on your credentials of just showing up for the Breeders' Cup. You get Irad, she's 12-1, and I think that this is a horse that you can't leave off. Why can a warlike goddess get beat tomorrow? The answer is because she may be back on too short a rest. That's the one chink in the armor with her, because the race in the Glens Falls was crazy fast. She ran a massive number. For a turf filly, she ran a Breeders' Cup type number. But she is coming back on 3.5 weeks rest. And they're not machines. And so if she's vulnerable, I think that's what makes her vulnerable. I couldn't possibly leave her off the ticket. She's a brilliant filly. Randy, I think you're dead on right with La Signore in that, and she might get away. Santana's a difference maker in my estimation, and she could end up being controlling speed. And then the last thing I would say, of all of the horses that are in the race, the horse that I am absolutely convinced is going to run her best race of her life is My Sister Nat. She just continues to get better. She finished 4th in the Sheepshead Bay. She finished 3rd in the New York. She finished 2nd to our big favorite in the Glens Falls. People see, for some reason, when people see, well, Warlike Goddess beat My Sister Nat by 3 1/4 lengths, it's as if it's inconceivable that could ever reverse. For some reason, I've seen that. So you get things like 4 to 5 compared to 5 to 1. And therein lies a lot of intrinsic value. Warlike Goddess does not have to run. She probably will, but My Sister Nat is just as likely to run her A race as Warlike Goddess. And if she goes through a little bit and gets 4 pounds, and Warlike Goddess, even she can bounce and win, but if she doesn't bounce tomorrow, she's Lady Eli type. That's how good she is. So she might bounce. She might take a move backwards, and if she does, that makes her vulnerable to a horse like La Signore, who's going to be controlling speed, to a horse like American Bridge, who is a Euro, and they win every one of these races, and to a horse like My Sister Nat, who is basically saying, boys and girls, this is my race. I was 4th, I was 3rd, I was 2nd. Today's my day. So this race to me is an absolute spread. I would use 1, 2, 3, and 4.
1, 2, 3, and 4, which means I think we covered the whole field, all of us, besides the 5. So we got everything on the 5.
Yeah.
But we did use the whole field. Yeah, this is going to be a good race. Now we talked about it more, and good call, Dennis Trusty, on that before Vicky said anything. You said the same thing about the Euro coming over, so good for you, Dennis. You and Vic are on the same page. I don't know if that's good or bad, but well, when it comes to handicapping, it's good.
That's good.
Life,
Yeah.
it's not that good.
Jeez.
No, that's good. So we have it there. What are our picks? And then we'll go through and talk some stuff.
Are we not going to do the last race?
No, we'll do the last race if you want.
It's only one of the biggest races on the card there, but
You're right. I thought we were done. I was doing a pick 4, which not even a pick 4.
All right. Let's move on to the final race of Saturday's card, which is the Grade 1 Jockey Gold Cup. Oh my goodness, I can't
Cup?
think. Gold Club Jockey Club Gold Cup Stakes, 1.25 miles on the dirt, $1 million at stake. This is a win and you're in for the classic. This is for 3-year-olds and up. AJ, who do you like here?
I'm playing 2 horses here, and I think before I even go, you can rule out which one I'm not playing.
Yeah.
I am all over the 4 Happy Saver here. I know it didn't work out last time at Belmont against Max Player, but I can definitely excuse that because they ran in an absolute mud mosh pit of just crap. That was one of the worst days Belmont had like in a long time. And so Max Player's Victor, he's a fraud to me for obvious reasons. So I'm on the 4. And then also I really like the 5. The 5 who has ran 4 really good seconds in a row to a lot of really great horses. I don't think the distance is going to be a problem. That'll let a distance from 1 1/8 to 1 1/4. I think it's actually probably going to be beneficial. And I think that being said, I think it's got a chance to steal that one here. So I'm going to go 4 or 5.
All right, 4-5 with you, AJ. I love the 4 a lot. I love Happy Saver. From what the things you said about, I'll throw out the last race with Max Player there. I think this horse could sit right off of the leader, which I think will be the one who I'm going to play as well. Forza de Oro. And I do think because, and this horse has this weird upward trend that I'm curious to see what Vic thinks about this. Of second off the long layoff, obviously, but I think this is a horse that's trending upwards right now, and I think that's a big thing. So I'm just going to go straight 1-4. I think there are only 2 horses in a race. I'm fading Max Player as well, maybe because I've heard such negative things about him for the last year from AJ. But
AJ's winning this one, huh?
But yeah,
He's
apparently
beat
so.
He's beat the hate of Max Player into you.
He's subliminally like ruining my handicap.
Done nothing but talk about it for a year and a half.
It's true. It's true. But I'm going to go straight with 1-4 here. I'm going dead chalk. And these are the ones like kind of Vic brought up that I don't want to be lost on a pick 5 because I don't play those 2 horses. But I think they're really the 2 best in the race, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm playing Max Player. Mostly because I chuckle every time that horse runs because of AJ's deep-seated hate. But this horse is already in the classic. Happy Saver I am playing as well, but I'm with AJ here on the 5, Night Ops. I think he's stretching out. He has decent speed here to compete. I really kind of see this horse just sitting right behind the leaders around the turn. I think if something happens between the 1 and the 4, if they seem to fade each other, it could open the doors up for the 5 to take the lead in the stretch. I think it's an interesting play here. So I went 3 deep with AJ's favorite horse, 2, 4, 5.
All right. And before, Vic, you get into it, just so you know, remember when you went over how, leaving a certain horse off of it and you had good horses going? AJ and I both did that with Max Player. We both singled the Max Player against Tis the Law. And we both got beat on like
Travers or the Belmont?
It was one of the 2. And we got beat on a $2,000 pick 5 because we didn't play Tis the Law because we were those guys. So thanks for telling us that now, Vic, and not be stupid. I could have used that.
What a cool race. There are so many things that make this race fun, even though it's only a 4-horse field, because Forewarned and Chess Chief can't win. Let's talk about them, maybe in inverse order. Night Ops has run 24 times in his life. I think I've called half of them. And back in the day, we used to handicap races like this I used to handicap by the Kentucky Derby, and it actually worked, by saying, do you think that the announcer will say, now entering the winner's circle, the winner of the Kentucky Derby, just a quinky dink, or Chess Chief, or Forewind, or whatever? And Night Ops has numbers. He's very good right now, but he doesn't pass that test. I don't see John Imbrial saying, now entering the winner's circle, the winner of the Grade 1 $1 million Jockey Club Gold Cup at Saratoga, number 5, Night Ops. I just don't see him because I know Night Ops. If you can't win the 5th season of the Essex or the Ben Alley or the Blame, you're not going to win the Jockey Club Gold Cup. It's just not going to happen. So he's out. Forza de Oro is the key to this race because there are 2 great morning line makers in this country. There's others that are good, but the 2 great ones are John White at Santa Anita and David Aragona at Naira. I think he's got the wrong favorite here. I cannot imagine Forza de Oro going favored over Max Player or Happy Saver. This is a horse that ran a nice number. He ran a 101 buyer, but that was 3 times. That was a non-winners of 3 other than. It was a 5-horse field. And he ran a number that's not close to what Max Player or Happy Saver are capable of. So him being an 8-5 shot makes this race wonderful for the pick 5, because even if he doesn't go favored, which I don't think he will, you will see in pick 5 tickets people that will include a horse like him just because he was 8-5. And so they're almost afraid to handicap or to pull on Superman's cape and not use a horse like this. If he wins, I will lose. I hate that horse. There's just a whole bunch of reasons why I don't like him even a little bit. So that leaves us with 2 horses, Happy Saver and Max Player. To say Max Player is a fraud is just really dumb.
It's not, though.
We're talking about a horse here that won the Withers. It earned him a spot in the Belmont Stakes, and he ran 3rd. What the hell do you want? He could run 2nd or win, but he ran 3rd in the Belmont.
Wasn't even really the Belmont.
So what?
Wasn't even really the Belmont.
Belmont
I have no words to tell you about how stupid
That's
that is.
all right.
So then he earns himself into the Travers. You've heard was that not really the Travers either?
Yeah, it was won by that one was also won by the same horse who is equally as fraudulent.
Okay,
Good
go
to know
on.
that you think he's a fraud and the rest of the world thinks he's a Travers and Belmont winner. Okay.
Not even
It's either you're right or the rest of the
Did
world.
they how far was that Belmont? So is it really the Belmont? Just because they put the label on there? I have a shirt that says analyst on it, doesn't mean it's right.
And then he beat 10 horses in the Kentucky Derby. He got beat 7 lengths to Authentic. Okay, that's cool. Asmussen liked him enough to send him over to the $20 million Dubai Saudi Cup. That didn't work out. Okay, but Mishrif is a pretty nice horse. And then he came back and he won on that you're talking about what a horrible racetrack it was. It was a mess. And he won the Grade 2 Suburban, which, as Sarah said, I think is a very big deal that he's already in. He's already in the Breeders' Cup Classic. So to say that Max Player is a fraud is just ridiculous, especially when you consider that he is the 3rd choice on the morning line in this race. His numbers tower over Forza d'Oro, and he's already beaten Happy Saver. And he's Asmussen and Santana, and he figures to be closer to the rail. Leaving him off is complete folly. And then I agree with everything that you said, AJ, and others about Happy Saver. This is a horse that's a defending champion in this same race. Yeah, it was run at Belmont, and this year it's at Saratoga. But he won this race last year and has never run a bad race in his entire life. And he is a serious racehorse. This is Max Player or Happy Saver and a John Rahm 3-iron back to the rest of the field. Forget about it. This is 2-4. Good night. Drive home safely.
There you go, 2-4. And it is funny. You bring up a good point with Max Player, because I jumped on Max Player last year when, remember, like that was the undefeated 2-year-old or whatever, and this was and a couple bad races, and everybody literally just jumped ship.
Where are the bad races? I don't see them.
When was he ever undefeated?
Wasn't he undefeated before he came?
No.
But he was a well-touted 2-year-old, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry, not undefeated, but he was a well-touted 2-year-old. I took him in our draft, if everybody remembers, when we had the draft for the Derby early. I did take him. Oh yeah. At that time, he got beat one time in his first race at Parks. Okay,
Parks.
but
at Parks, that should just say it.
It was a maiden race. Settle down. Jesus. All right. So, but we did have a comment. So, okay. So,
the energy out of me, AJ.
Yeah.
Good.
Handicapping with
shame on you for wasting that much energy on Max.
Wait. I want to hear this.
Handicapping with you is like taking a triple Quaalude. It just dummies me up.
Good.
Woo!
Good.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
God, I love having Vic on our show.
Absolutely. We need Vic on all the time.
Let's real quick.
Remember when Vic said Extravagant Kid sucked and he went over to
here we go.
and won a pretty big race over there too.
I didn't say he sucked. I didn't say he sucked in the race that you picked.
You said he was going to be pushing a plow.
The race that you picked him is when he sucked.
Pulling a plow, AJ. Pulling a plow.
Oh,
he said.
goodness.
That's
All right.
really hard. If you can push a plow, you got some.
Exactly.
You still got something. You still got something there. All right. Let's real quick. I'm going to go through everybody's picks for the late pick 5, and then we'll get into some chatter. So AJ's late pick 5 is the 1-4 with the 1-7-8 with the 1-5-9 with the 1-4-7 with the 4-5. Randy has the 1-4 with the 1-3-7 with the 1-9-10 with the 1-3 with the 1-4. Vic
That
has
could, by the way, be 1-1-1-1-1. That would be cool.
yeah.
I do have one.
You have one. Yeah, you do have one in every leg there. Vic has the 1-5 with the 3-6-7 with the 1-3-6-10-12 with the 1-2-3-4 with the 2-4, and I have the 1-2 with the 1-3-10 with the 3-9-10 with the 3-6 with the 2-4-5. And we'll put all this out on Twitter tomorrow morning so everybody can have a screenshot of what those picks are.
That's a great comment, Tom. Dummy, I feel like I'm watching Sanford and Son. I actually, you big dummy. Pretty much. So, Vic, we did have a comment earlier. Okay, so there it is right there, Vic. If you can read it.
My favorite Vic call was Classic Empire winning the Arkansas Derby. It's one of my favorite horses of all time, and I just love that win for him.
Do you remember that, Vic?
Oh, sure. Yeah, it was I think it was my second Arkansas Derby. I'm not sure, but yeah, really cool horse. Yeah, Mark Cassie and Julian Leperoux.
That's great. Rick, have you had any calls like within the last year? Not to keep you on too much, but we'll get going in a minute. But any calls recently, like post, let's say, COVID? Any calls that are like in your mind, or has there been anything great, or just par for the course?
Talking about race calls?
Yeah, race calls. What'd you do?
Well, I didn't know. Sometimes when you make a really good race call, you turn off the mic and you go, ha. That was good. And me having my unquenchable ego, I'll immediately go over to Twitter and just let what I think is going to be the adulation pour over me, because I am an adulation junkie. I made a call this year that I thought was okay, but I didn't think it would get the reaction that it did. And it's gotten as much reaction of any call that I've ever made in my life, which is Latruska beating Monomoy Girl in the Apple Blossom. I still can't quite figure out why everybody liked that call so much, but they did. So I appreciate that, and I'm glad. It probably had to do with the reason why the people that like my calls really like them. The people that hate my calls, they despise them, and it's all about passion. It's if the calls that I've made that people like because of the passion that I show and because of the overmodulation that I'm guilty of, some people go, wow, I mean, he obviously loves horses and loves horse racing. On the other side of that, it's, oh, he's just screaming his head off and making it all about himself. Okay, that's why I do this. But yeah, the Latruska call in the Apple Blossom got a lot of really, really wonderful responses, and I appreciated that.
It did. I remember seeing all the Twitter responses about that call. Like, people were a little bit in tears of the emotion.
That was the Monomoy Girl one. Before that,
and the Monomoy Girl one, and the Bayakoa.
And the Bayakoa.
A lot of people were still talking about that.
We got a lot of things about you with that one. Remember they asked, I think, if you were choked up with that one when they said Monomoy Girl, and in a split second she's up by like 3, and that's why she is who she is, or whatever you said. I mean, I'm sure you're more articulate than I am, but whatever. A lot of people really got into that call. Maybe it's a Monomoy Girl thing. Maybe. They love these mares.
Yeah. Boy, is Latruska the goods or what?
Right.
That race last week, she got pressed. That was one of the most impressive races that I've seen in a long, long time, because the horses that made her run fast early were all eased, And the horses that did nothing in the first part of it and came charging in the center of the track like they were going to go blowing by her were the beneficiary of incredible race shape. And then all those horses that were up on the engine were gone, except Latruska, who held them all off. I mean, that was really something. If she was ever going to get beat, that was the spot. And she's the goods.
Well, I love the story of Monomoy Girl now coming back in training, and if she can go and either like it's one of those like, are you passing the torch, or are you just gonna like slap the up and comer in the face and go away right into the sunset? That would be a really cool matchup. If Monomoy Girl
I can't imagine that they're thinking about running her in the distaff.
That would be tough.
I think they are
for her long layoff and her age.
I don't know, guys. This is the 3rd of September. That race is in 60 days.
I know, but
I can't imagine they're thinking about doing that.
I have a little bit with that because we own them. And I don't know. I haven't heard anything for it, but they just put her in training and they're aiming.
They're going to beat Latruska off a 7
listen, it's kind of the Rocky story at that point, right? If they do it, that's what I mean. I don't think
tell you if something happens to Monomoy Girl in that race, they'll never live it down.
No, it's a weird situation because now Monomoy Girl is leased, and it's not the actual owner's call that are going to own her afterwards, I believe. So it's a weird situation that most people don't talk about, where it is.
Redcock still trains her.
Yeah, he still trains her. Yeah.
Well, he'll do the right thing.
Exactly. But she is coming. She just went to the barn a couple of days ago, and she's like galloping and breathing. She's aiming for something one last time. I mean,
it can't be the Breeders' Cup Distaff in 60 days. It can't be.
I agree. That sounds crazy, but what else could it be?
Too crazy.
Pegasus in January, like one, and then the Pegasus maybe.
How about the Apple Blossom again? It's $1 million.
Yeah, but the people training her now, that owner won't own her then. Well, they won't own her their Pegasus either. I don't know. I feel like they might just hang it up if she doesn't even look good on her training. But I mean, we'll see. But it is interesting. But it would be a cool story either way.
Oh my God! If she came back and beat Latruska in the Distaff this year,
yeah.
No, yeah.
She's not running next year. Let's face it. She's not running next year.
I don't think.
Well, she's not going to run in the Distaff. She has to run next year. That's the end of the year.
Well, yeah, I know, but like maybe the Pegasus. That's why I said like maybe January. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I don't know anything. So anybody out there that thinks because I work with my racehorse, I know something, I don't. But I do know she's training.
I could text Brad Cox and ask him, but when I was a Jocks agent, I sent him 80 texts and went 0 for 80. So.
So go 0 for 81.
I don't think he's going to tell me what he's doing with Monomoy Girl.
What is that?
Would it be weird though if the one time he texted you back, it would be that time?
Yeah, Vic, thanks for showing interest. He might, because the other 80 times I was asking him to put my jock on horse, and he wasn't going to do it.
He just wanted to talk to you outside of like you trying to get a jockey on.
Exactly.
That's all he wanted.
There actually could be something to that, AJ.
I did see that Tom from Tom and Tom said that Smarty Jones was the greatest Arkansas Derby winner. Could we just tell him that's not true?
Remember when Tom said at the beginning of the show he wasn't going to be here this whole time, and he's never left yet?
Vic, we do have a question from Jay asking if you called Gate Dancer and Empress race at Arc.
Were they in the same race? If they were in the same race, the answer is yes. I called Gate Dancer when he won the Cornhusker. So if Impress was in that race, then the answer is yes. I actually called the last race. The answer is yes. Fancy's still alive and a cantankerous bitch, but she's alive. I actually called the last race at Carbon not knowing it was the last race. We didn't know at the end of the season there that Carbon wasn't coming back for the next season. But I definitely called Gate Dancer when he won the Cornhusker at Exarban. So if Impress was in that race, which I don't remember, then yeah, I called him.
All right. I do have to say that, yes, I want to address the Arkansas Derby thing because real quickly, who do you think the best horse ever to win the Arkansas Derby is? Because I'm looking at like 50 of them that are better than Smarty Jones right now.
Oh, wow. You're going to do that. You're going to do
Anybody
that.
American
Colin
Pharoah,
Jones.
by the way, was one of them.
If anybody that thinks that Smarty Jones is the best Arkansas Derby winner is wrong. I mean,
He is.
he's a wonderful horse. There's no getting around it. But last time I checked, American Pharoah
Yep.
won the Rebel, the Arkansas Derby, the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, the Belmont, and the Breeders' Cup Classic.
That's pretty good. Not a bad resume.
The thing that we're so proud about, and the reason why American Pharoah has a statue in front on the front steps to Oaklawn, is in that year when he was Horse of the Year, a Triple Crown winner, and undefeated in 9 starts, the only track he ran twice at was Oaklawn. He won the Rebel and the Arkansas Derby, and the rest of the races were all at different tracks. So American Pharoah is the best Arkansas Derby winner.
Yeah, hands down.
Yeah.
I'll even go with Curlin over your Smarty Jones, by the way.
Oh, wow. He's
but-
just dishing it to you, Tom. Sorry.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Tom.
he's on fire right now. Yeah.
Smarty Jones is a great
Didn't
horse.
Nadal win the Rebel and the Arkansas too?
Who?
Nadal.
Might have, yeah.
Yeah,
I called
Nadal
it, but I
was
don't
big,
remember.
yeah.
Yeah.
Another one better than Smarty
I
Jones.
think
There's another
they're
horse
making like a
that-
big deal about that, trailing American Pharoah. Like
There's another horse that should have been eased, and they went like a quarter and 21 flat, a half and 43 and 1, 3/4 and 7, and all of the horses that were pressing him were completely eased, and he turned them all away and then held off stretch runners. So that was a possessed race by Nadal that day. Probably the most incredible race I think I've ever seen. Ever.
Thanks for mocking us, Tom, by the way. Okay, so before we go, Vic, what are you up to now? Everybody's wondering. And I do want to clear something up for somebody out there who I forgot what it was, but
A quick question. Did Oaklawn's meet get extended? So are they coming in December now?
Yes, we've extended out to 66 racing days. Opening day is December 3rd. We're going to run 66 days. Closing day will be the day after the Kentucky Derby, and our first condition book is out, and it is dope. The first allowance condition's 107K, and it'll go up during the meet. And then the thing that we did that I think is absolutely genius is we're going to run 3 days a week. We're going to run Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which means all 66 days at Oaklawn this year, each and every one of them will be a standalone event.
That's
You
great.
can roll into Hot Springs at noon on Friday and leave at 5 o'clock on Sunday and see 3 days of racing at Oaklawn. It's going to be a meet for the ages, and hopefully we won't have to miss 2 weeks because of snowpocalypse like we did last year. But Oaklawn is already the preeminent signal at that time of year. It's not even close, and it's even going to be better this year. Wait till you see. We have turned away 4,000 stall laps. I mean, we just don't have the room.
Wow.
I mean,
well, we'll take them in California if you want to send
I
them
know.
over.
Yeah.
Struggling out here.
Yeah. Go to Oaklawn where you have that, or you can go to a Saturday, Sunday meet at Santa Anita with 6 horses in each race.
We keep building more barns. We bought a training center about 30 miles from the track. That'll be full. For those of you that love Oaklawn, that was it's going to be the greatest Oaklawn that we've ever seen times 3.
Well, I think people are learning to love Oaklawn. I mean, and personally, even for me too, like I always liked Oaklawn, but I thought it was just because I was a hardcore horse racing guy. But since COVID, what they did, and then and proof's in the pudding where, when horses come from Oaklawn and they dominate at other tracks, there's a lot to be said for that.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like you're not the minor leagues. You're the big leagues. You win at Oaklawn, you win at other tracks. Now I want to watch Oaklawn. And just what everybody did through COVID at Oaklawn, I have mad respect for Oaklawn Park. Besides you, I mean, listen, I think they have the greatest track announcer there, and I'll say it out loud. I mean, I know we're friends, but obviously I think Vic's the best. I've said that before we even met him, and I'll stick to that. But I think Oaklawn, it's Hot Springs, Arkansas. They're legitimately putting that on the map. No offense to Hot Springs, Arkansas. I'm sure it's a great place, but I mean, you're putting them on the map. This is like going to be a Saratoga, if not better,
The Saratoga of the South.
You know, and another thing about Oakland that I think we definitely should talk about is Whitmore being retired. What a champion! What a cool horse! The job that Ron Moquett did with Whitmore and his whole team, Greta Kunzweiler, his wife, everybody, to have him end up being a champion, to reinvent this horse. He ran third in the Arkansas Derby, and they thought he was going to be a route horse. And they stopped and said, okay, that didn't turn out the way we had hoped. So let's make him a sprinter. And then to end up being a champion sprinter, and be a champion late running sprinter. That's the thing about Whitmore. He stood the test of time and won grade ones doing something that most sprinters don't do. And that is come from way out of it.
Yeah.
The last truly great late running sprinter that I can remember is Midnight Blue. And then after him, Whitmore. I don't know this. It's not an official announcement, but if I would think that it seems like a no-brainer that we would rename the Hot Springs Stakes the Whitmore. We don't name races at Oakland after people, only horses. And so I wouldn't change the Count Fleet because Count Fleet is Count Fleet.
Count Fleet, sure.
But the Hot Springs Stakes, which Whitmore won 5 times, I would think that we ought to consider changing that. And I don't know. I'm not in the meetings, but it seems kind of like a no-brainer. And I would also think he lives in the Count Fleet barn. We're building new barns. I would think that they should change his barn to the Whitmore barn, so he is in the barn that the Moquett horses are in the Whitmore barn, and then make a different barn, the Count Fleet barn. But it's not for. I'm just a piano player at Oakland. I don't make policy.
It's a good name for a stakes too, the Whitmore.
Yeah,
it's a good name.
Yeah,
He's coming off the Whitmore win, and he won the Whitmore. Yeah, that's a good name.
Somebody called me the other day. A guy called me the other day, a local press guy, and he said, "Can you think of horses that truly captured the imagination of a fan base?" And I did. I thought of 3 others. There was a horse in Washington named Captain Condo when the old Longacres was, and he would double the crowd when he was running. And then at Exarban, there was the legendary Nebraska bred Who Doctor who when he would run, 30,000 people would come to see just because Who Doctor Who was in. And then of course Zenyatta, where people brought Zenyatta signs, decked out as Zenyatta, wore Zenyatta clothes. Whitmore's like that. At Oakland, Whitmore is like that. And he was this year, especially when I announced him in the post parade for both the Hot Springs Stakes and the Count Fleet. And what an incredible job by Rod Moquett with that horse.
No, absolutely. And I listen, I'm a big proponent of naming races after horses. I think, and I bet Vic gets this answer.
The Extravagant Kid.
Well,
that'll be one soon.
I'm sure there's a race at Fawner Park that would work perfect for him.
No, but I got a better one at Fawner Park. If you're like a loser of like 20 races and you're all going against like a maiden, what would you call it, Vic? And I'm going to give you the trivia question. It would be called the what?
The Zippy Chippy.
Zippy Chippy. Thank you.
There's actually a couple of those out there already.
Oh, is there really?
Yeah, the Zippy Chippy Stakes.
Zippy Chippy. That's awesome. Horse that never won.
And I don't want to get emails about Fawner Park. It's run by a guy that I really like and respect, Chris Katulak. They did a great job during COVID. I'm willing to trash a racetrack just to get under AJ's skin.
Well, it's not me. It's Jay in the comments who's going to get mad.
Oh, that's right. Jay's a big guy. Yeah, probably. But all right. So Vic, we thank you for coming on and giving us your pick 5. Always a pleasure. And obviously, we'll talk soon. Did you go to Vegas recently?
No, I qualified. They gave us the opportunity to opt out and go in January, and we were actually ready to go to Del Mar 3 weeks before that. and had an amazing trip set up. We were going to boogie board 2 days, go to Mexico 1 day, play La Costa with caddies 1 day, and then handicap 2 days at Del Mar. And a good friend of mine here said, wearing a mask with the Delta variant is very similar to pissing on a forest fire. It doesn't do any good. And Tina and I were both double vaccinated at that time, and now we've both had the booster. But my friend, who is a medical doctor, said, don't go. The airplane's going to be full. We were going to take an 8-seater from Hot Springs to Dallas. You have rental car shuttles. You have the rental car gate, all of that. He said, just don't take a chance. You could still catch the Delta variant. We didn't go. So that's the same reason we didn't go to Vegas. So now I have 2 qualifiers for the one in January, and I'm really hoping that I feel comfortable with the physicality of it. Oakland, much to their credit, and I really appreciate this, it's in my contract that if I qualify for the NHC, I can go and miss a weekend of racing at Oakland. This year, it's a little tough, and I'm not so sure that they realize it yet, but if I go to the NHC this year, I'm going to miss the Southwest, which is probably not a good one to miss, but
Yeah.
But it's $1 million and I can win. I mean, I had a chance to win. So they're incredible. Oakland is, I have been so blessed to work for some amazing people. Doug Dunn at Gulfstream, Jack Lee Bow at Hollywood Park, and now Mr. Sella and the whole team at Oakland. So I thank them for that.
Love the fact that Vic Stauffer put into his contract he could leave to go to a handicapping.
To go
club.
handicapping, yeah.
That is fantastic.
That's
First of all, like
Yeah.
you have the greatest agent, or you're the best agent of all time.
I have a great agent.
But okay, absolutely. Oh, so thank you, Vic. It's been too long for us to talk to you, and that's why I asked, because
it's always good to have you on.
when you get out here, even if you're in Vegas, hopefully we can come by and see you. We'll go out there too as well. Yeah.
You're not far, 4 hours.
Yeah,
From being
so-
Vegas.
Yeah.
And of course, like I tell you, every time I'm on with you guys, I'm anywhere from 6 weeks to 2 months away from moving into my new house, which is, I have been 6 weeks or 2 months away for moving into my new house for now 2 years.
Just say, since the last time we talked to you.
Well, listen,
I know.
we're already putting together a Vic Stauffer golf tournament. Yeah. At the course.
Yeah.
We're already putting that together for you. So.
And I'm going out there today to hear that we're only 6 weeks to 2 months away.
That's good.
Good luck.
That's good.
Never
I mean,
changes.
at least they give you the same response for the past 2 years.
Exactly.
Consistent.
Yeah, they are
Exactly.
consistent. All right. Well, Vic, please stay on. We're just going to end the broadcast for everybody. We can chit chat once we end our live show. But everybody, good luck out there playing the closing weekend of Saratoga as well as closing weekend of Del Mar. And make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And good luck. See you later.
All right, clowns. Thank you.
Thank you.